Crazy news out of the state of New York. A New York congresswoman has decided to ban body armor. Specifically, she wants a federal ban on specific types of body armor that can stop rifle rounds. That's right. Not only do they want to flood our country with illegal aliens and all sorts of other potential terrorists and other criminals, but they also want to disarm you. And now they even want to take away the ability to protect yourself from being shot by the same bad people that they let out of prisons and let into our country. Let's break it all down and why this is stupid and unconstitutional when we get back. Hey folks, I'm Mark Smith, host of the Four Boxes Diner, proud American gun owner, constitutional attorney, member of the United States Supreme Court Bar, and author of Disarm: What the Ukraine War Teaches Americans About the Right to Bear Arms. All right, folks, so breaking news. I have to give credit where credit is due. The excellent journalist, the excellent gun journalist, Second Amendment journalist, Lee Williams, has published another great piece. I look forward to his work every single week. And Lee Williams has another great piece out that he's also published in The Truth About Guns, another great website. So Lee Williams published this article in The Truth About Guns and other places. And he has covered the fact that New York Democratic Congresswoman, of course it's a Democrat, Grace Meng, apparently is now trying to ban body armor, meaning you can't use body armor unless, of course, you work for the government. If you're a police officer, a law enforcement officer, or military, you, of course, can have your life protected because you get a W-2 stub every year from the federal government or the state government. And because you work for the government, you are special, at least according to Congresswoman Meng. So this is a bill that's been proposed in the United States House of Representatives. I usually don't cover these nonsense bills because they don't go anywhere and it kind of wastes our time. But I think it's sometimes important to talk about the things that if they had their druthers, they would do to you. And one of the things they would do to you is prevent you from being able to protect yourself with body armor. Now, keep in mind that we know the right of the people to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment allows you to use lethal, deadly force in the forms of firearms to protect yourself against threats to your life. So why do they want to take away your ability to protect yourself when not only is body armor not lethal, it's not even really dangerous, right? Because you're wearing it to protect yourself. And of course, you're wearing it to protect your core, your chest, which is usually where people want to shoot to stop you or to kill you. That is the easiest place to shoot. I don't need to tell you, you know all of this. So anyway, Lee Williams, in his excellent most recent work of journalism, talks about this proposed bill. I'll put a link to the article down below. And specifically, the bill defines enhanced body armor. And specifically, they're trying to deal with enhanced body armor, which of course is just the first step to getting rid of all body armor. Specifically, what he writes is that this is a bill that's supposed to exceed, that is supposed to prevent you from getting body armor that protects you against rifle rounds. This is something that's known as exceeding level 3 standards as defined by the National Institute of Justice. Things like this that stop rifle rounds. Apparently this bill, according to Lee Williams, would also ban helmets and ballistic shields if they're at level 3 or greater. Again, so they're okay in theory, protecting you from being shot with a handgun, but they're not okay if there's a danger that you might get shot with a long gun, such as a rifle. This makes no logical sense. And again, it's particularly dumb because, again, there's no downside to any of this. If you're going to commit murder wearing body armor, you're going to commit murder, period, full stop, with or without the body armor. And this is actually quite interesting. I thought this is excellent work from Lee Williams to identify this FBI data that I was not aware of. Specifically, listen to what the FBI data has to say about the use of body armor by quote-unquote mass shooters, and their use of body armor. Very few of them use body armor, and yet not only does Congresswoman Meng want to deny us the ability to use body armor, but I'm sure she also would ban all guns if you gave her the opportunity. Lee Williams makes an excellent point based upon this FBI data that studied the use of body armors by mass shooters. Very few mass shooters, when they commit their heinous crimes, use body armor. This is what Lee Williams writes. Check it out here. According to the FBI's landmark study, Active Shooter Incidents 20-year review, 2000 through 2019, roughly 5% of the active shooters wore body armor during their mass murders. 16 of the 345 shooters, 5 at open areas, 4 at business open to the public, 3 at government buildings, 2 at high schools, and 2 at universities. Thus, the data from the FBI's active shooter incidents 20-year review shows 5% of active shooters wore body armor. What's another interesting and fascinating bit that I did not know until I read Lee Williams' article was that there's a website out there called Body Armor News out of the Netherlands. I did not know this. And this is quite interesting what Scott Burton of Body Armor News apparently explained, and then Mr. Williams discusses. Check this out right here. Very interesting information about the use of body armor. In shooting incidents, the instinctive target for many individuals is often the largest and most visible body part, the chest. Body armor, as a protective measure worn over this vital area, can therefore prove highly effective during shooting incidents. Well, of course, people, that is where you're most likely to be shot because it's the biggest part of your body. And I mean, you guys out there, the military shooters and snipers and all that watch this channel, I'm sure you know a lot more about these details and ballistics than I do. But obviously, it makes a lot of sense that if you can protect your core, that at least gives you some possibility of surviving some of these shootings, especially if you're unarmed. Now, let's go on. Is this constitutional? Well, it's pretty clearly not constitutional. And I think we just need to turn to the actual text, not just the text of the Second Amendment, but the text of the Supreme Court's decision in the District of Columbia versus Heller case in 2008. Remember, the text of the Second Amendment reads in operative language, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, to me, what does the word arms mean in this context? Because the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So the question is body armor a type of arm? And I think it undeniably is. And the Supreme Court has basically already said so. Check out this language from the Supreme Court's decision in 2008 in DC versus Heller and see if you think something about this language might speak to the issue of body armor. The Supreme Court wrote, quote, "Before addressing the verbs keep and bear, we interpret their object arms. The 18th century meaning is no different from the meaning today. The 1773 edition of Samuel Johnson's dictionary defined arms as weapons of offense or armor of defense." Cited to a dictionary by Samuel Johnson, the great English lexicographer. Then it goes on to say Timothy Cunningham's important 1771 legal dictionary defined arms as anything that a man wears for his defense, or takes into his hands, or useth in wrath to cast at or strike another. Again, that was Timothy Cunningham's important legal dictionary in 1771 at the time of the founding. So it seems to me that something you wear as armor is certainly an arm as defined by not just Mark Smith and not just by the U.S. Supreme Court, but by the dictionaries consulted by the Founding Fathers when they wrote the Constitution in the year of our Lord 1791, when it went into effect, of course, the Second Amendment. So there you have it. It seems to me, obviously, textually, the right of the people to keep and bear arms includes arms consisting of body armor. This also makes a lot of sense if you think about the Supreme Court decision in Caetano in 2016. Specifically, if you look at the concurrence by Justice Sam Alito, he talks about kind of how absurd it is through the notion of a fortiori, which means if it's true for the greater, it's true for the lesser. Basically, he's like, hey, if lethal weapons that can kill people, i.e. handguns, are protected by the Supreme Court's Second Amendment jurisprudence and Heller and the text of the Second Amendment itself, right? If lethal weapons are protected under the Second Amendment, how is it conceivably possible that non-lethal weapons such as stun guns, which was the issue presented in Caetano, could Massachusetts ban stun guns? Could this under the Second Amendment, right? Under the Second Amendment, are non-lethal weapons protected? And of course, Justice Alito says, obviously, if deadly weapons can be protected under the Second Amendment, which they undeniably are, certainly non-lethal weapons such as stun guns should also be protected. It's a no-brainer. Now, if you think about it, body armor even falls below stun guns because really I cannot come up with a way to use body armor offensively. I suppose I could hit you over the head with it, but by and large is purely a defensive thing that you wear over your body. And I'm not aware of any historical rule that would prevent you from wearing body armor, especially if you wear under your clothes so people don't even know you're wearing it. I think that's a no-brainer. And what's particularly important here is I think this language from Justice Alito and Cayetano, and I'll wrap up this discussion today about this excellent article by Lee Williams in The Truth About Guns about this ban on body armor proposed by Democrats in the United States House of Representatives. I think this is an excellent way to summarize it, the way to view this, about how the government now not only wants to disarm you, not only do they not want to protect you from bad people coming into our country or just letting bad people that are already in the country out of prisons in various ways, such as defunding the police and so on and so on. They now also want to deprive you from being able to protect yourself in terms of banning body armor. And I think Justice Alito has it right when he wrote the following in his concurrence in 2016 in the Cayetano case. Check out what Justice Alito had to say. I think you'll find it insightful on the issue of body armor. A state's most basic responsibility is to keep its people safe. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts was either unable or unwilling to do what was necessary to protect Jamie Cayetano, so she was forced to protect herself. To make matters worse, the Commonwealth chose to deploy its prosecutorial resources to prosecute and convict her of a criminal offense for arming herself with a non-lethal weapon that may well have saved her life. The Supreme Judicial Court then affirmed her conviction on the flimsiest of grounds. This court's grudging per curiam now sends the case back to that same court, and the consequences for Cayetano may prove more tragic still, as her conviction likely bars her from ever bearing arms for self-defense. If the fundamental right of self-defense does not protect Cayetano, then the safety of all Americans is left to the mercy of state authorities who may be more concerned about disarming the people than about keeping them safe. Powerful language there from Justice Alito. Again, if deadly force is protected under the Second Amendment in the Heller case and beyond, certainly non-lethal, non-deadly weapons such as stun guns are protected under Cayetano, and by extension, the least dangerous, if you will, body armor is undeniably protected by the principles of a fortiori. If it's true for the greater, it's true for the lesser. If deadly force weapons are protected under the Second Amendment, then non-deadly force weapons should also be protected. And of course, body armor, which is really an armor of defense, as the Supreme Court in Heller has literally already defined it in 2008. So it seems to me these body armor debates are not only stupid, because why wouldn't you want someone to be able to protect themselves with body armor in any and all respects if they can, if they want to? And of course, it's also unconstitutional as I see it for the reasons I've articulated in Cayetano and in Heller and under the text of the Second Amendment. All right, folks, hope you learned a little bit something here today. Make sure you subscribe to me on X at 4Boxes Diner for more Second Amendment related news. Don't forget to follow and subscribe and resubscribe here. People keep getting knocked off. I don't know why, but I'd appreciate you subscribing to the channel here. And we'll talk to you again soon here at the 4Boxes Diner.
Orders up. Table 2A.